May I welcome to the stage Shea Serrano.
It's a lot of y'all in here. All right, so yeah, like Molly was saying, we're just going to argue about which songs we picked. Because in each of the chapters, each chapter is about the most important song from a specific year. Each of the people that's going to come up here has a little blurb in the chapter at the end where they argued for a different song. So it's a live version of that. So for this one, Ms. Lambert did the 1988 chapter. I was arguing that the most important song of that year, obviously, was NWA Straight Outta Compton. And Miss Molly Lambert thought it was a different one, so go for it.
I argued for Children's Story by Slick Rick, which is not maybe as cool as Straight Outta Compton, maybe a little more 80s and a little less 90s, but equally influential, very important, really funny, and in a different category than Straight Outta Compton, it is a great song that features a British guy with an eye patch rapping about a nursery rhyme, which is about as weird as you can possibly get. And it's a classic song for people like me that are fans of storytelling, and sort of every song that you've ever heard that has a plot, I feel like you can trace back to Children's Story and credit to it somehow. So I don't know that I even necessarily agree with myself, because I don't like to make choices between things that I like. I just want everything to be equally good, that, two songs from a year can be good at the same time, but I'm going to say, for the sake of this event, that I totally disagree with Shea.
I feel like we did this in New York, and we had our 5 people that went up there, and every time that the other person went, I got lost that battle every single time, because it was all these really smart people. And when I first got to Grantland, like my first day there, my boss, his name was Dan at the time, he brought me into his office, and he was introducing me to everybody, like telling me about them. And he said, we've got Sean here and Chris here and Mark here. And he's like, and Molly Lambert's here. And she's like, probably the smartest person in the office. So, like, I'm real nervous right now battling Molly. I'm just going to concede defeat. Like, you're probably right. I picked the wrong one. That's my bad. So we're off to like a really bad start right now. I'm 0 for 1 today. So thanks. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
And
all right, that was terrible. Let's do next. Who's next? I think it's 1995. Is that right?
Yeah.
95. It's Christopher Ryan. Oh my God. So for the 1995 chapter, I was arguing that the most important song of that year was Tupac's Dear Mama, which obviously is the most important song of that year. Well, I said obviously last time, I lost that one. But yeah, so I was arguing that that's the one where, like, that's where we saw the most vulnerable version of Tupac, which is probably the second most interesting version of Tupac. The other one is like the super gangster version. And thanks. All right. But yeah, so with that song, like, all of the beginning of Tupac's career was just mostly him rapping about women with, like, Keep Your Head Up and I Get Around, like, just different versions of women's songs. This is the best one that he ever did. And he's probably the most iconic rapper if we just have to pick one. So that's the most important song. This fool is stretching over here like this shit is really going down.
I don't think that Dear Mama is like one of the top 50 rap songs from 95.
I want to punch you right in the face. I swear to God, I want to punch you.
So, but no, the song I picked was Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep. That came out like 3 months before I graduated high school in 95, and I still think that Infamous, the album that came off of, is probably like my favorite record out of all of those like sort of seminal East Coast records that came out in the mid-90s, right? That like Illmatic and Wu-Tang and the first Raekwon record, and etc. But the funny thing about what we're picking here is that Tupac and Mobb Deep obviously have somewhat of an intertwined history. The reason I picked Mobb Deep in the first place, and even what I wanted to talk about tonight, was just like remembering not necessarily the beef that was happening at the time. Like, you should come back up, man. This is about you. No, not at all. It was just more about like fondly remembering like regionalism, like and actually like hearing something that you felt like somehow represented like the place that you sort of think of where you're from. So I'm from Philadelphia. It's adjacent, obviously, to New York City. But, when I moved to New York and when I lived there and throughout, like, most of my adult life, like, Mobb Deep has meant so much to me. And Prodigy especially has meant so much to me as a lyricist. But I never had that connection with Tupac. And I don't know that I ever gave myself a chance to like him. Like, if I am being
Did you have
honest,
a connection with your mother? How about that one?
she's fine, but I would not write a rap song about her. You know what I mean? Like, she's cool, but like I just felt like I probably would say that Pac's two good verses are California Dreamin' and the MSG Live freestyle.
What the hell?
But that's it. Like, that's like I don't
What are
really
y'all
have.
doing in Philadelphia? Like,
We're listening to Beanie Siegel. I mean, what do you want from us? When did you sort of get into Tupac?
when I was alive, like that's you get into Tupac when you hear Tupac for the first time. No,
But for you, is it about Tupac, like in his actual records, or is it about the entire mythos of Tupac and it's like
It's
juice
all
and
of
it's
it.
everything and it's
Everything.
Yeah, it's Still I Rise, just like the.
When Tupac comes on, I feel it in my chest.
I feel the same way about Mobb Deep. Yeah.
Mobb Deep, I'm like, you know what? The first thing I think of Mobb Deep, that movie, that terrible movie. You remember there was a movie called Mobb Deep?
Okay.
See, that's how bad it was. And also, they played it in a Spurs commercial, which I always
Did they?
appreciated.
Shook Ones?
Yeah. But no, if you're comparing it to, like, I don't know, on Mother's Day, I want to play Dear Mama. I don't want to play like Mobb Deep Forever for my mom.
Yeah, if we did a book called The Best Mother's Day Songs, I probably would have picked the Dear Mama over Shook Ones. But I still think also it's worth mentioning that aside from like how they differ lyrically and how like those two different sets of artists wound up clashing over the years, I also picked Shook Ones because it's probably one of like the 3 best rap beats of all time.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah.
0 for 2.
Okay.
All right, let's see. We got 2 more that I got to suffer through. Miss Devin Maloney, come on now. This was 2000.
That's 5 years.
Ms. Maloney did a 2000 chapter. I was arguing for UGK and Jay-Z, Big Pimpin', which of course is the convergence of the North and the South, and like, let's fucking celebrate that. And they got a boat. There's a gigantic boat in the video. And Ms. Maloney did So Fresh, So Clean by Outkast, so already lost.
Well, yeah, no, so when you came to me with the question, I kind of thought about how, like, what does that mean, like, the most important song of that year? And I was thinking about, Big Pimpin' is a really good song. I like it. It's like a song that you can, that kind of does the same thing as So Fresh, So Clean. It has the same ethos, I guess. It's all about being, on top of your game, being like decked out. You got your stuff all down. Everybody wants you. But like, So Fresh, So Clean is it's objectively better on one hand, but also like, one of the reasons that I said it was superior was because it's much more applicable. Like, I'm going to age myself here. I was 11 when that song came out, and that was as important to me then as it is now. And I'm sure like people who are grown-ups my age at that time found it as important as I did. And I think
You were in your room, like so fresh, in the mirror, just really getting
definitely. Well, no, it's like one of those. It's such an identifiable, like, iconic song. Whereas Big Pimpin', it is really iconic, but it's also like, I was trying to think about like how women are portrayed in both of them. I feel like Stax and Big Boy, they always talk to women directly, and I love in that song how they come at whoever this woman is, and it's really, really like smooth, so fresh, so clean, and like really gets the job done. Whereas it's kind of like, I guess Jay-Z and UGK already have as many women as they possibly could want, due to the fact that they are in fact big pimpin'.
Right.
So, but yeah, that's it was more important. But I think that could be argued, right? What made you pick yours?
Well,
in that show, I guess.
Because that was really the moment when, at that time, Jay-Z was already a big superstar.
Right.
And this was right before, like, he thought he was going to prison for a few years because he stabbed that guy for leaking like, his music out, which is, like, a good idea. I think you should always fucking stab somebody. And, but then, so you had this big star, and then you had UGK, who was only famous down here in Texas. It hadn't exploded yet. We're still 4 or 5 years away from that. And just mushing those two things together was just meaningful. Like, that never happened before. Then there was never a situation then. So that's why. But I think if you're going to talk about the women thing, then I lost.
I didn't mean to pull that, but no, it's actually no. But it
hit me with that shit, like,
important
boom.
for different reasons. It just depends on what kind of thing, what you're talking about. If you're talking about historically, you probably win. And if we're talking about, like, you know, the lasting power of a song, and applicability of a song.
You're right. I lost.
Yeah. Well, I didn't say that.
All right, you got it. Go. Thanks.
Tie.
Thank you. This doesn't have anything to do with anything at all, but right now my phone is buzzing a bunch in my pocket, and I was thinking about several days ago I was in Atlanta for this other thing, and I gave a talk in the morning, and then I had like 2 days off to do nothing, so I called a taxi because I was going to go to the movies because I had not seen Black Mass yet, and my wife won't go with me, so I was going to go. And so I called him, and then I went down to the office, or down to the lobby, and the taxi pulled up, and I did this thing where I got my phone, I got my wallet, I'm good to go. And again, this doesn't have anything to do with anything at all right now, but I was just thinking about it. And so I got in the taxi, and we're riding to the movie theater, and I was talking to the guy, and it was like a good conversation. He was my friend. I felt like we're good to go. And we pulled up to the movie theater, and so he tells me it was $20-something, whatever, and here's my phone. And I went to get my wallet out of my pocket, and I pulled it out, and it was a fucking cookie. It was a cookie that I had from the airplane that was in my shorts, and I wrapped it up, and I thought it was my wallet because it's a little tiny thing. And so I just pulled it out, and I was like, motherfucker. Like, he just had to take me. I didn't even get to go see the movie, so now I don't like cookies or Johnny Depp. Let's do the last one and then sign some books and get out of here. Sean FENNESSEY is coming up. There he is. He did 2006. I was arguing. Oh, that's that. Yeah, I'm real scared right now. I did 2006, which I was arguing for Rick Ross Hustlin', and he was not arguing for Rick Ross Hustlin'. He was arguing for What You Know by T.I., which is ridiculous. Here's why Hustlin' was important, and just outside the fact that it's a fantastic song. But up until that point, like, rap was sort of celebrating itself all the time, and a lot of it was rooted in authenticity. Just a few years prior to that, we had basically seen 50 Cent just yank Ja Rule out of the sky and slam him into the ground because his company was called Murder Inc., and he was like, "You're not murdering people. This is," and everyone was like, "I'm not listening to Ja Rule and Ashanti anymore." But when Rick Ross came, like 2006. This was after Kanye had busted out with Gold Digger, and it became this thing where authenticity wasn't that important anymore. It was more about what you can imagine and say. Rick Ross is always like, I'm flying in a diamond helicopter with 100 virgins. It's like, no, you're not. You can't fit 100 virgins you probably can't fit 100 anybody in a helicopter. But it was like, it didn't matter. 50 Cent tried to take him down too afterwards when they found out that he was a correctional officer and nobody cared at all. And so that was the moment when it was just like, you can say whatever you want. Now we got fucking Slim Jesus or whatever the guy's name is, just rapping about drug dealing. So that's an important song.
Slim Jesus?
Is that his name? I don't know his name.
Yeah, Slim Jesus.
That's him, right? Andres knows.
Is that Chris?
No, that's Andres Stardy. Yeah, he's like a skinny little white kid who's like rapping about killing everybody, and then he comes out as he's like, I'm killing. And then he just, I'm not killing, but I'm killing it, and then nobody cares. Like,
This is your argument for Rick Ross?
Yes, it changed the rap. It changed it totally. But tell him about T.I. and the. Go ahead.
I'm not gonna dance.
Remember to dance?
No, I think that those are some strong points, especially the point about Slim Jesus. I think the thing about it is when you're writing a book about every year, it's easy to have the hindsight of knowing what we know now about Rick Ross. But if you think specifically about 2006, that was T.I.'s year.
hands down. Not only did he have What You Know, but he also had My Love with Justin Timberlake. Also a better rap song than Hustlin'. I would also argue that Hustlin' is Rick Ross's worst song and like the least representative Rick Ross song of what he became. And the fact that I specifically remember when Hustlin' came out, it banged, but it was a joke. Rhyming Atlantic with Atlantic was one of the biggest punchlines in rap at the time. People were like, this guy is fat and charismatic and not good at rap. And T.I., on the other hand, had been having sort of a build-up to a moment. He was waiting to become the guy. You know, he had been ascending to a primary position in the genre. What You Know is sort of the height of that moment. When that song hit, I was working at Vibe magazine, and we were having a debate about what the songs of the year were going to be, and that was the only non-debate. It was like, well, it's What You Know and then everything else after that. We didn't have to think twice about it. Now, it's sad to think about that when you think about who T.I. is now, who is basically just a guy who's trying to put out music in the world and also gave us Iggy Azalea. Like, that's a bad legacy. It hurts to hear that. But if you leave this reading, you have your signed copy of Shea's book, you open up your phone, you Bluetooth your car, and you put on What You Know, it will transport you to a special moment in your life. It will take you back to happiness, I promise you. 10 years ago, life was easier, life was better, you had less money, but you had less to pay for. I can attest to that as well. And also, Rick Ross, as much as I love him, is still kind of trash.
How dare you? No, this is what you do. You go in your car, first, but he's got a little tiny pair of scissors on the back of his pocket right here. This is fantastic. I've never seen these jeans before.
They're from England.
Are they really?
Yeah.
Never been there either. This is what you do. You go in your car and you Bluetooth. I don't have Bluetooth, but I'm gonna plug my cord in like a normal person.
Right. Rick Ross does not have Bluetooth either.
And Rick, I'm putting on Hustlin', and then I'm screaming, I got the motherfuckers flying across the Atlantic. Like that's what I'm doing. But no, you're probably right. I can't beat a guy with England jeans. Like, it's just not possible. I made these shorts myself, and you went fucking across an ocean to get your pants, so. All right, you got it. 0 for 4. Thank you. I appreciate you. All right, that's what I thought it was. So we got a little bit of time. We could do a quick Q&A if anybody has any questions, and I'm going to try my best to answer them for me or for any other people who came up here. But all right, we'll get started with this green shirt back here. What up, Guinness?
So this is not a question for you.
Yes.
This is a question for you. Why did you pick So Fresh, So Clean and not Miss Jackson?
Because I just felt like that was such a. I think I took the opposite tack that Sean did, where I looked at a song that's important and will be important for a really long time, or will be just have the staying power. And I felt like that song was it really just like it. I just think of that as a more like eternal song.
So you wanted a song that people would listen to forever.
He thought of that shit like 2 days ago. He was fucking ready. I'm about to kill him with this question at the Q&A. He knew.
Like an actual story, really distinct story. Fresh, So Clean kind of, it can be applied in a lot of ways. The reference to Anne Frank, who cares, and I just felt like it was much more,
Good job. We got another, yes sir.
Was there one year or one song that made you want to write this?
That made me want to write this book? No, I didn't want to write the book at all. Like, not at all. What ended up happening was we did the coloring book. The coloring book did real well, and the same publishers, and they wanted to do another book. I don't want to do another coloring book because it was not that much fun. Like, drawing the pictures was fun, but it's like super hard to email Drake to get him to sign a paper for you, and you got to get everybody's signatures. So I didn't want to do that anymore. So my editor there, she's like, well, I got this idea for this book. It's the most important song for every year. You write a chapter for every year. What do you think of that? And I was like, that sounds awful. I don't want to do that. Not like, no. And so that was the end of the conversation, right? That was it. And then like 2 months later, maybe my wife wanted to, we had another baby, and we were living in a townhome at the time. And she's like, we got to get out of this townhome because it's too small. And I said, all right, I guess I'm going to do this book now because we need money for the down payment. So that's how we got the book. Like, that's what we did. But yeah, there wasn't a specific. I didn't want to write it. But I'm glad when we finished it. I really like it. I'm really proud of the way it turned out. So, women are smarter than men, as we saw earlier.
Glad you made it.
Me too. Anybody else? All right. Yes, sir.
What was your involvement with rap music before you started writing about it? Like, how did you go from a person in the world to a person in the world writing about rap?
With just an email, basically. Like, I was listening to rap music. You listen to it when you're growing up, and it's a part of your life, and you're hearing it. And then when I decided I was going to be a writer, then I was like, well, I know about this thing, so let me try to write about that. But yeah, again, even with being a writer, this was not something. I wasn't a kid dreaming about having a book signing in LA one day. What ended up happening was, again, this is my wife. She was pregnant with twins at the time, and we were both teaching, and the plan was she was going to stay home for 6 months after the twins were born, so we save up our little money for that. But like 4 months into the pregnancy, she went into labor. And it was like this big emergency, and they rushed her to the hospital, and she got a surgery, and they laid her down, and they were like, you got to just chill out here, like your uterus is wilding out, trying to get the babies out. And so the money we had saved up for the months after the pregnancy, we used up during those months when she was supposed to be, when she was on bed rest. So we were getting near the end of it, and we were running out the money. I said, I need a job. I tried to work at like fucking Target or Walmart, but they wouldn't hire me because I already had a full-time job. So I was literally like at home Googling work-from-home jobs, and writer came up. And I was like, I guess I'm a writer now. And I just started calling the newspapers and telling them, yo, I'm a new writer. All you got to do if you want to just tell somebody that you're that thing, and they don't check like at all. I was like, I'm a new writer. No, yeah. And then eventually a woman, she ran like a little tiny neighborhood newspaper, told me, okay, you can write for it's called the Near Northwest Banner. It's the first place I ever wrote for. She made them in her garage on like a little machine and then handed them out to people. She paid me $15 to write, and then I did 2 of them. And I was like, fuck this old lady, I'm trying to move on to the next place. And I went to, and then I just tried to flip each one of those. And I did that for, 3 or 4 years. And then, like, when I got at Grantland is when things really popped off for me. And Molly, this is the reason I invited her, she was the one who got me on at Grantland. I wrote a story, this goofy story about having sex with my wife while listening to Drake. It was the dumbest thing. This was in, like, 2012. And it spread around a little bit, and then I got a message from Molly. At this point, Grantland was like out of there already. They have all these fantastic, super smart people. I never even considered writing for them or pitching for them. And she hit me on Facebook. I have the thing saved in my phone, and I still look at it every once in a while. It's like, we saw this thing and we liked it. You have any interest in pitching us? And I was like, just crying and trying to be cool. But yeah, so I mean, all that stuff it just happened. Like, it was just a part of a thing, and I wasn't trying to do it, and then here we are. So that's a way too long of an answer. All right. Yes, sir.
Do you have a leader in the clubhouse, so to speak, for 2015?
Oh, yeah. It's definitely Kendrick Lamar's All Right. See? I got one right, finally. Yes. Yeah, it's just taking all the stuff that's happening in America, and Black America specifically, and like just turning it into this beautiful, like, we can't be broken type thing, and it's going to be the one that lives, I think, forever. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
Did you feel weird in years where you put back-to-back artists, like if you're filling out Scantron and you're like, B?
Yeah, that was...
You have that feeling when you have the same artist come up every few years?
Yeah, it was weird at first. The way we ended up doing it was for each year we had like a list of maybe 10 songs, 10 potential songs, and I tried to put in 2 or 3 sentences why each one was important. And if you do it that way, then it's easy to say, oh, well, this did a thing or that did a thing. So I felt a little more confident. And then also I sent the list to like 2 or 3 people that I thought had an extensive knowledge in hip-hop, and they gave me the okay. So yeah, but that was weird, definitely. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
Have any artists like reached back and been like, man, I feel like my song should have been that year? Like, you got feedback?
No, they don't. Like Jay-Z, and we're not that cool. So he hasn't. No, the only one I've heard from so far was fucking Mike Jones, if you can believe that. He was a 2004 Yeah, there it is. The 2004 chapter. And we put it on Grantland the Tuesday before the book came out. And it was like moving around or whatever. And then I got a DM from him. And I was like for real? I've not seen this guy in a long time. And it's like, yo, I saw the article. I appreciate the truth you're spitting, or something goofy like that. And I was like, there's no way this guy read it, because in the article I say like he was a terrible rapper. He was just good at marketing. And then, so I was like, oh, thanks, Mike Jones. I appreciate it. But then like maybe 20 minutes later, it's like, we should do a book, just me and you. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. Like, I just unfollowed Mike Jones. I don't want to do that book. Yeah, I have the DM saved in there. And anybody else? Okay. Yes, sir.
Was there a chapter that you knew what song it was, but you just struggled to write? Like you just kind of struggled to piece together the argument, or you just kind of breezed through all the chapters?
No, the hard one was the 2001 chapter where it was, because it's two songs, Takeover versus Ether. It was hard logistically because we only had so much space for each chapter, and I got to put two songs in there now. But also because you can't write the chapter without saying who won or who lost. It just doesn't make any sense. So that was like a tricky situation. And if you read the chapter, you can see it's basically just me arguing with myself, and then there's no real answer. It just sort of like mumbles off, and then we're good. We're good to go. Anybody else? All right, I think we're out of here.
Cool.
Yeah, let's sign some books.
Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the Skylight Books author reading series. Don't forget, you can listen to this and all our other great podcasts at skylightbooks.com. Thanks again for stopping by, and we hope to see you soon.